Hello and welcome to the Property Business Podcast. As usual, I am joined by Jonathan Woods and James Hughes. And this week we are chatting everything eXp and why we joined eXp. So how are you first of all, lads?
Yeah,
Very
good.
good.
Yeah,
Good.
busy morning. A lot of big training session this morning, and yeah, quite keen to get stuck into this. I really look forward to it on a Monday, actually.
Awesome. Right, Jonathan, shall we kick off with you first of all then? Obviously,
Yeah, go for it.
we went to school together, stayed in touch through Facebook. And then I think you may have reached out to me first just to ask a few questions about how the differences in real estate in the US compared to the UK. We stayed in contact. And then we obviously spoke about eXp and the opportunity of eXp in the UK. And do you want to just talk about your experience and when we first spoke, why you
Yeah, of
joined the
course.
company? And we've got a few slides, etc., to do along the way. And obviously, James is going to talk about his experience, and I'll talk about mine as well. But Jonathan, you might as well kick it off.
Yeah, of course. So I think one of the things that's quite interesting is that up until very recently, and the sort of the emergence of the broker model, so to speak, there was always a dream and a passion of mine to start my own business and do something by myself. But the barrier to entry was so high, and the traditional route to running an estate agency and being as an independent was either get a branch, and which is we'll talk about in a second, and extremely expensive, or to go down the sort of more purple bricks route, which was very different to being a standard agent. And at the time, when I was sort of, when it got to the point where I'd be able to make a decision, there was another opportunity, and there were two options at the time, really. And one was Keller Williams, which I was thinking about quite significantly. Now, that's another American brokerage that had started up in the UK, but hadn't really taken hold from it. And then the other one, which was eXp, and to be honest, I hadn't really even thought about it until I saw a couple of posts by yourself and some of the things that you were doing over in the States. And it kind of piqued my interest because I saw some of your amazing properties that you were selling. And I remember one vividly with you next to a private jet. I don't know who that was and whether that was your private jet or whether it wasn't.
Unfortunately, it wasn't my private jet. It was a friend of mine who actually owns a private jet company, but I can't claim that to be my private jet.
We'll get there one day. We'll get there one day.
But that's social media, and that's you see so many of these property influencer types that are walking through these amazing homes. They're not even selling them; they're just part of their own production. But it piqued my interest, and then I also saw there was a couple of people who were doing it in the UK, mainly outside of London, to be honest. And obviously we chatted and we went through all of the difference of it. And I was very, very close to signing with KW. But then once you get under the bonnet, once you actually look at the detail, that's when it becomes a complete no-brainer. There are other brokerages out there. There are things that you can join. Certainly in London, there's Harding Green, there's Movely, there's Daniel Daggerty, DRE, there's the London Broker, there's D&G now, Douglas and Gordon. All of these different opportunities have similarities, but when you actually delve into the detail, if you're planning on being a top producer, if you're planning on making and running a top level business, eXp is the way to go forward. We'll talk about it.
So really, Jonathan, you were looking to set up something by yourself, take your business to the next level, and then it was just really working out what the best opportunity was for you. And we'll go into detail in a minute in regards to the financials and the actual reasons why you joined. But James, what were the main reasons why? Obviously, you joined through Jonathan. So what were the main reasons why you joined?
I hadn't really looked into other options. I realised that John was doing it. John's a good friend. I trust John. I didn't look at the other options. I'm very much a person that if you say do that over 1,000 times, I will do that faster than anybody. So I used to have my buy-to-lets that I used to own. So I wouldn't say I'm an entrepreneur. Yes, I did the buy-to-let model. You did it once, then you just repeat the same model over and over again. Luckily with eXp, I didn't have to think too much about the entrepreneurial aspect to it. It is literally the whole model, the whole business is given to you. Then if you just work your socks off at that model, that's why it's done amazingly well. So yeah, I definitely would not want to be looking about Rightmove, Zoopla, CRM, emails. It would take me, I remember when I started on Canva, trying to do my leaflet design, for me to kind of do that creative thing, that just isn't me. But if someone gives me, there you go, there's the business, there's the model, now throw yourself into it, work very hard. That's what I did. And then on the back of that, we're now seeing the results, hopefully, continue to flow as well.
Yeah, you guys are obviously doing very well financially. from this, and it's a completely different business model in the UK really than what you were used to. For me, when I joined eXp, it wasn't something that was dramatically different, because when I did real estate in the US, everyone's self-employed, everyone works under a brokerage, and so you have to sell homes to earn money, and then you get the commission, and everyone has different commission structures and different agencies offer different things. But in the US, kind of how the business model worked were you create your own leads, you get a percentage of the business, they take a percentage, or you pay them a fee, but you didn't really get anything else apart from that. So what really interests me about eXp is I had a business coach that was doing extremely well, and when I started using him, he was like, would you be interested in this opportunity? I really like the brokerage that I'm with. And I was like, no, not interested at all. And then over a few months, he slowly told me about all the different benefits, which we're going to talk about now. And then because I've always had an entrepreneurial background, it really interests me about different revenue streams. And I have always had a passion for coaching, hence why we're doing this podcast. I really enjoy helping others do well with their business. And that was the biggest thing for me that really, really caught my interest, was the fact that I can bring on people. Originally, it was for the rest of the US when we first started doing it. I can help them grow their business, show them what's working for me. And then it got even more exciting when they started in the UK. And now we've got a big team of agents that we all work together with. And for me, that's what was really exciting. And so, do you know what? We'll go into...
I was just going to say, just to jump in on that, James, I think it's a really important thing or not important, but interesting thing to draw out from there is that, this podcast talking about eXp, we've got two sets of people that we're kind of talking to here. We've got people who are in traditional agency, who are, in branches working in the traditional way, with a majority of or not usually on salary, but with the vast majority of the commission going to the company and a small amount going to the agent. And that's how the majority of people in the industry will be working. But then we've also now got brokers who are working for other brokerages in a similar way to what you were just saying there, James. You were working for a brokerage and you were quite happy where you were. But then it's the extras. So what is your brokerage doing for you? There are people working at these, probably earning, twice, three times more than what they were earning on the high street. But what extras? What are you getting? What's your legacy? What's your exit plan?
Yeah.
What's your retirement plan? All of these things. Are you going to be on the coalface for the rest of your life? Is it just a job, or are you building a business? Are you building someone else's business, or are you building your own? So those are the two things I think. We've got agents that are completely new to it, who are going to transfer from earning at best 10% and then going on to the splits we'll talk about in a minute. But then we've also got people at current brokerages who have left high street agency, who are doing probably very, very well, but won't really appreciate things like capping or having share equity in a business, and more importantly, revenue share, which we'll talk about in a second.
Yeah, I've got the slide up in regards to how it works in, commission and caps, and we'll talk about the finances and what you have to, input into the business to get things started. So one of the big reasons why I joined eXp in the US was there was no cap. And that was a massive thing for me when I was working for other agencies, was the fact that I was starting to do really, really well. And I realized I was giving 50, 60, 70,000 to the brokerage in the US and not really getting anything back in return. And then I was like, right, okay, there's actually a cap here with eXp. And so I know I spoke to someone at like Fine and Country the other day, and they were telling me their business model. And, it's not a million miles away from what eXp, from what I understand, from the limited, chat we had, you pay a percentage to the company that you're working with, and then you keep the rest. But they have no cap. So if you're doing really well,
James,
which
just
you guys
for
are,
the interest of the people that are listening, to redefine what cap is. Cap being that the level of commission that someone generates for their brokerage is capped at a certain point. So from that point onwards, there is no payment or a very small transactional payment paid back to the brokerage. But the vast majority, or 99% of the commission from that point, will go to the broker. Yeah. And like you were saying in those in your agency, in your brokerage, where there isn't a cap, it's the top producers that are paying the lion's share of the revenue. And it's what are you getting back for that? That's the key. Sorry to interject. I just thought I'd just put in so that people know what cap was.
we'll talk about the actual finances and when you got your experiences and when you guys are capped. But I'll just quickly go through this so people understand. So it's a 70-30 commission split. So what that means is, say on your first deal you do, I don't know, you get a 10,000 commission on that. You would keep 7,000, and you would 3,000 of it would go towards your cap. And then once you have paid 24,000 off, you then don't pay any more money to eXp apart from a £250 per completion. And there are other costs, obviously. There's a small startup fee of £150, and then you pay monthly fees, which add up to, I think it's £150 as well. So there are monthly fees for being part of it. But one of the big things that I want us to talk about is how much that's saving you and what you get for that money. And I think the biggest thing for me was learning how the expensive Rightmove and like Zoopla, etc. is. And from what we understand, Jonathan and James, you probably know more about this, but it's really, really expensive if you went by yourself and set up your own, estate agents, and you had to pay it yourself.
I think I said it on the last podcast. So an agent I used to work with in Foxtons, he's trying to go alone by himself. So I met him about 2 months ago. I was like, out of interest, please go and do all of the research, look into how much it costs. I guess Rightmove, 1.5 for the smallest package, up to maybe 1.9. Zoopla, circa £700. So the portals alone is circa £2,500. CRM, emails, back office support, IT support, Yachty sign, the vendors' ID checks. John always explains it very well, where if you were to start a company, your monthly outgoings just to break even could be about £5,000 each month. If it takes you a month to get a listing, you spent £5,000, it might take you 3 months to actually get a completion, if you're lucky. So you could have had 4 months with £5,000 going out each month, with mortgages, if you have kids, nursery costs, all of your savings can very quickly go quite quickly. But obviously with eXp, after your initial admin costs, 125 plus VAT, I sleep easy because I know that each month, if I was to do nothing on my business, it is literally 125 plus VAT. So I can go away to Bali for 4 months, knowing that my whole business continues at only 125 plus VAT. It's
and
insane.
obviously, and it's good to go through what that includes as well. So when you get, a home for sale, it will automatically, through the software, go on Rightmove, Zoopla, etc. You get a CRM with that as well. You get a website included in the price. And one of the things that we're not going to go into a ridiculous amount of detail now, but the eXp World, which is basically an online platform where you can go in, and there's so much training. I know, Jonathan, you did some training a week or two ago. There's unbelievable amount of training for new agents, for experienced agents, for agents that, really wanting to push their business forward in different ways. And you can always chat to anyone that's really important within the business, not just through the eXp World, but you've got, the chat portal when you can just go and chat to anyone. So what's amazing about it is you can basically chat to anyone within the company at pretty much any time that you want. And the level of support is absolutely fantastic. So you don't feel alone when you come on as an agent. You feel like you're part of a small stroke big company because it's got the benefits of both.
Yeah.
I think I was going to say, Joe, I think there's two things. I would just chopping back to what you very well explained very well there. But I think one thing to focus on is that when you start up any business, you've got capital outlay. So if you want to run a coffee shop, you've dreamt of running a coffee shop. That was your passion, and you've then gone to go and to realize that passion and to start up your shop. You've got a huge amount of capital outlay, so you've got to find the premises to run from, or you've got to buy the van to run it from. You've got to buy the coffee machine. You've got to buy the coffee. You've got to invest a lot of upfront in capital reserve. With property, really, the cost of acquisition is how well you market yourself, because we don't have to go and buy something. We don't have to buy loads of clothes to sell in a clothes shop. We have to get listings. But your upfront costs and your payments are your overheads in terms of marketing. So things like Rightmove and Zoopla are a marketing cost. Now eXp are backloading that on a pay-as-you-go basis. So they're taking an investment risk on you as a broker that you're going to be successful, meaning they're going to take a split of your commission if you produce something. So if you're someone that's going to be very sort of proactive and go out there and sell things, then of course you're going to pay your split. But no one's coming after you after month 1, 2, 3, saying, "Look, we just paid $5,000 for you of all this stuff that you paid your Rightmove, we paid your Zoopla, we paid this." You've got an investor who's investing in your business but doesn't want the money back if you don't produce. And I think there is no business model out there that I can think of where someone putting that much investment into you but not wanting it back unless you produce something. So that 70-30 split is extremely generous, but it's pay as you go, and that's the key point of it. Like James was saying, we all sleep easy. I go on a holiday. I'm going to Costa Rica in a couple of weeks over Easter, and I know that my business will continue to run while I'm away, and I haven't got a £7,000 bill coming out of my account because I've been off for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We've met business owners that are running very, very high volume turnover businesses that haven't been on a holiday for years because they can't. It's stressful, and that's what's really kind of attracted me to this model. The cap is absolute key. We've put up there 24,000. That equates to £80,000 in revenue. So £80,000 in turnover. That caps. Hopefully, fingers crossed, should cap this week. It was supposed to happen last week. We got a delay on the completion, and that means from now until September, every completion I have will be 100% com, and that's huge. It really is.
Yeah. When you cap, it makes such a difference. So I capped. So my anniversary is February. It's gone to my third year now. But last year, my second year, I capped in August. So I had 6 months being paid 100%. So August, September, October, November, December, January being paid 100%. I've now gone into my third year now. My pipeline is 120k. So if they all get through in the first 3 months, hopefully, a bit of a pipeline blockage as we all do, but I could have capped in my first 3 or 4 months, giving me 8 months, we paid 100%. And you see such a big difference when you get 100%. I mean, it's not bad, 70%, but 100%, no. You see such a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little deal, $350,000 on 2%. It's for 7k. $7,000 is one exchange. That's pretty decent. We've got some numbers up here, haven't we, James?
Yeah, I put an example just to show you if you had 3 sales a month at 2,000 commission per sale, what you'd get 4 sales a month at 2.5, so that people can actually see the figures. To give you an example, if you've got 4 sales a month at 2,500, so that's what 10,000 a month revenue, so 120,000 a year. 30% goes to eXp till you cap, so 24,000. And then you've also got the 16 sales that are left, which would be 4,000. So the absolute total you'd be paying is 28,000, and that leaves a total of 92,000. Now, if we talk about figures with you guys, Jonathan, what first year, second year, how many homes were you selling, and then James, how many homes were you selling as well? It'd be good to know how many homes, to give people a realistic expectation of what they can do first year, second year, third year, what you expect to do this year, for example.
No, of course. I mean, I think for myself, rather than sort of numbers of homes, I'll just give you, so I haven't got the data to hand right now to give it sort of accurately, but I'm more of a sort of, the area I operate in is sort of what would say like core London, so zone 2, zone 3, in the majority where most of my sales are. Average fee probably roughly around 8 to 9 grand. So in year 1, I didn't cap. I made it very close. So just hit shy of that 80,000 mark. So probably in the region of that 55 to 60 grand net revenue. Bearing in mind that I had a lot of costs in the business, and I still, pay my mortgage, looked after the kids, and went on a few holidays, and it was good. And that's a startup business in year 1. Year 2 was completely different. So year 2, if you look at my business accounts, which you can go and view them, they're on Company's House. That my year 2 was 10x year 1, which is insane. And I think that's due to capping. And I think if you're looking at sort of revenue sales, my total turnover for last year was in the region of 2 to 250. And I think when you look at that as a progression this year, we're consolidating and doing a lot more sort of extra on growth and various things. I hope to maintain that as a similar level. If I want to grow further, I've got to look at leverage and expand that. But I say to them, I work at probably 70% time capacity because I have a young family, and I choose to spend 30% of that time, which I could be allocating to further business growth, to spending time with my kids. That's how I choose to run my business, and I'm really happy with it. But I think that's when you look at the numbers that are created. There are people that are very easily touching 250,000, going up to close to 300,000, 400,000, 500,000. It's incredible. It really is.
Yeah, and then so my first year, so I started in February, was going for a divorce, really kind of started in June, July on my business. Took me a while to get a listing. I learned what to do, what not to do. I had a pipeline of circa 60k in September. Then the Liz Trust thing happened. I then went down to 10k. So my first year, I found it really hard. I remember being in the kitchen, breaking down in tears, not doing very well. But I believed in this model. I stuck with it. And then my second year, I've got the figures here. So I did 29 completions in my second year, and my fees were 237, so 237,000. So up to £80,000, 70%, 56k to me. Above 80k, 80 to 237 is 157. So 157 and 56 is £213,000 that came to me in my second year, and that's just sales. I do lettings as well, which we can come on to on another time. So yeah, my second year revenue, and I show any agent that we meet, I showed them this, my second year revenue is about 270. That's doing off market stuff and also doing lettings as well. So that's a second year. I met a branch manager up in Stoke Newington the other day. He's corporation full-time branch manager. His net take home monthly is about £4,000 each month. Just selling one house at 300k at 1.5% is a 4.5k fee. So it doesn't take much to replicate your salary, and then it doesn't take much to get to these sort of numbers that we are doing. So I'm now probably doing about 4 to 6 completions, or sales and completions, some less, but on average 4 to 6, hopefully each month kind of going forward.
I think it's important to put in here as well, because obviously turnover's kind of for show and it's profit for dough, really, as they say. And I think when you look at the outgoings that we have, the profit margin on what we do obviously is how much expenditure we put in terms of time, and that's kind of hard to quantify. But you've got things the actual costs and majority are covered on the eXp side. You've got photography. Photographers very 150. If you're going to do videos, probably a bit more, 450, 350, whatever you pay videographer. But there's still quite a healthy margin in that. And if you look at most I would say most brokers are going to be pushing 50% profit margin at least. And
that's a big thing to chat about.
Tell me a business that has that.
What people ask is do you need a shop premises? And the funny thing is, I'll say years ago, it was very important. How you went to go on holiday is you went down the high street and you walked into a shop to find out where you would like to go on holiday. And it was the same when you were looking to buy or sell a house. There was no there was no websites, there was no internet. You would have to go into a shop to sell your house or to buy one. But everything's changed now. And now everything is done online. If someone wants to go and purchase a home, they're going to look on Rightmove or Zoopla, for example, and they're going to go online and they're going to see what houses they want to see, and they're going to call up the number on there. It is unbelievably rare that someone will not go online now and they'll walk into a place and only buy a home by looking into shops. So you don't need a premises. My experience with real estate was quite similar to you guys. But the funny thing is I had no real estate experience whatsoever when I first started. So whereas you guys worked for other companies, you had a lot of experience and you could take that experience into selling homes. Mine was very different to that. I had no experience at all. I had to start from zero. And I think I sold maybe 8 homes in my first year. But in the US, the homes prices are very high in California, and the commission that we got was very high. So I earned probably the highest amount of money I've ever earned in my first year selling homes. And then it just increased and increased, and I built a team of people working underneath me. And and I was very fortunate to earn way more money than I really could ever imagine selling homes in the US. And the principles are very similar in regards to what you're doing and what I did. The only difference I'd say is in order to be very successful in the US, your outgoings generally have to be very high, because the competition's so hard that you have to spend a lot on things like Facebook advertising and pay-per-click advertising to generate your leads. When I met up with Jonathan when I came back from the US and to ask more about the UK model and all of that, and Jonathan was just like, I only spend like a few thousand a year outgoings on my business, and I was like, that's incredible. Like, and he's and we've obviously talked about lead generation and social media and stuff in other podcasts. And James, you're really successful with door knocking. But yes, unbelievably incredible how much revenue you guys have got, but I also find it incredible how little you actually have to spend in order to get that revenue. And I think that's really important. And anyone who's coming to work with eXp, you have to have 2 years experience working as a real estate agent. So you're going to have that experience there, not like myself where I came in and didn't know anything.
Yeah, slightly different. I think that, you know, I mean, I'll just show you here. I'm just currently in a shared workspace, which is Regis in Victoria, and so that's included as part of the eXp package, which it gives me a place to work. I was at a meeting in Marylebone this morning. Finished that, I've come here to do this podcast, and I'll do a bit of work here, and then I've got a few more viewings later on in the day, and I'll head off for that. But you know, that's where the sort of, it's so low in terms of the outgoing that you need to spend. I mean, there are other costs, you know, things like in my first year I spent a lot on direct mail marketing. That was very successful for me, and the return on investment was high, but the actual expenditure in the first instance was you're running it off your own expenditure. So, you know, buying paper and printing it and sending out on stamps. You know, if you're sending out 200 letters a week, that's £200 a week on stamps. It's a lot. But the way I was trying to say to myself is that, you know, every callback I got from that could be 8 grand, 10 grand. So, you know, and I did get one or two. And just going back to that production level, you know, if you're looking at my area average fee 8,000, I say to, you know, any broker in London is that if you were to strip out every bit of its distraction, team interaction, KPI meeting, managers meetings, everything, and solely focus on, right, how in your day to day, you wake up and start your day at, I don't know, 8:30 or whatever time you finish until 6 o'clock at night. All you've got to do is focus on getting a listing and selling it. Now, if you can back yourself to get 4 appraisals in a month, convert 2 of those into sales and sell 2 of them in a month, then that's 16 grand a month. That's 2 sales a month, right? If that's all you do, just break it down to that. If you're in a slightly lower fee area and you're looking at, say, 4 grand, that's still only 4 sales per month in an area that you work in is 16 grand a month. That's quite significant. And when you're looking at overheads of £125 a month to eXp, and photography here and there, you know, it's not simple.
Yeah, I've got my quarterly VAT return here. So August, September, October, I had 3 big months. So that was £96,000 in revenue, so 32k in revenue each month. My costs were only £3,000. I had quite a big VAT bill. I messaged my accountant, like, how do I get my VAT down? She's like, James, there's only so many flat whites you can buy in a day, in a month to get your VAT bill up. Yeah, it's insane. And then going to the cost, there's a guy down at my gym. He owns an agency down in Morden, southwest London. His monthly outgoes are £15,000 each month. He said to me, James, luckily my lettings book keeps me afloat. It's like, it's not about being kept afloat here. It's about what is the best way to make a crap load of money. Yeah, it kind of blows my mind what we get.
I mean, we'll do another podcast in terms of fee and defending the fee and value of the agent and why. You know, I mean, I pitch and I charge at a similar level as most of the high street, what I would call top tier agencies. But the value in us is there. What we're talking about here is the cost to a broker and the profit margins that we can hold, and also really more empowering the agent to get what they actually deserve. You know, I worked for years and years and years. You know, my office was turning over £1.8 million a year at one point, and I can tell you one thing: I wasn't getting very much of that. But I was working every hour, God sends. I was not seeing my kids. I was, you know, really working my socks off and getting paid what I thought was okay, but you know, you're never 100% satisfied with it.
Yeah.
But really, now looking back at it, you were a bit getting fleeced. You know, 90%, 95% of your efforts is going to pay for your agency.
Yeah. I met an agent over in Essex, and they are a big corporation, and they're being paid okay, but they've got monthly outgoings, they've got mortgages, they've got school fees. He said, James, he's not earning enough to buy a flat, to build a legacy. Yeah, so I guess corporations, they kind of keep you there, giving you enough, but not really what you deserve, really.
I mean, the one thing also, just to add into that, I know we're chopping and changing, but my mortgage bill, like everyone else's, has probably gone up quite significantly. It went up over 2.5 times. So I was very comfortable with what I was paying before, whereas now my outgoing's gone up quite a lot. Now, if I was in a salaried role with small commission, it would be very hard for me to make up that deficit. Whereas I can look at that and think, yeah, okay, so I've got higher outgoings, right? I've just got to work a bit harder. I've just got to sell some more homes. I've just got to do a little bit extra. to get and cover that off. And it's kind of motivating. It kind of gives you that kick up the bum and you get, let's go and do some more. But I've got control over that. Whereas, if you're in a role which is, high sort of made, let's say majority salary and small commission, you can't really influence that. And that must be quite scary because, if I was looking
but then
at
even if you do very well and smash your target, the first week in January, your boss says, "Well, thank you for doing so well. We're now going to tip back your commission, so you only stay earning that same salary for the rest of your career here."
Yeah, that's a good thing to
boss.
mention. Actually, is eXp the whole time I've been there and the whole time they've existed, basically, they haven't changed the caps and the percentages and all of that, and they're not going to. So as you just mentioned there, James, if you do really well, generally they'll then adapt it so that you don't do as well again. Whereas with this, the sky is the limit. And we'll quickly just chat about the other opportunities that you can get with eXp as well, and then we'll really come back to what our experiences with eXp and why it would be good to join under us as well, because I think that's something really key to talk about, and how that business part of it works. So let's talk about stock and shares and how that works. So when you first complete your first deal, when you cap, when you get someone else to join eXp, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and they close their first deal, then you get stock. And you can also join the equity program, which everyone should always do. And that's where 5% of your commission goes and gets bought stock, but then you get it at a 10% discount. So say, for example, there was, 500 went towards stock. You would get an extra 50 towards stock. Now, when I first joined eXp was at a very low price. And I remember when I first joined, I was obviously capped quite quickly. I closed deals. I got a few people to join underneath me. They did it. And I was getting all of this free stock. And then the stock price, especially during COVID, just went through the roof. And I didn't think I was ever going to sell it. But then obviously when COVID happened, we at one point weren't even allowed to let anybody in anyone's home to sell it. So basically homes stopped selling for like 2 to 3 months. And at that point, we just moved home and it got really complicated financially. And I was like, the stock price has gone right up. I better sell it. And annoyingly, it went 10x on top of that afterwards. And I lost out on 50,000 plus. It was a killer, but it was just unfortunate at the time with COVID, etc. But the money I still made, I think I still made about 30,000 or something from my stock that I got completely for free. It was, I just got very, very lucky when we joined. It just went through the roof, and it's still obviously at a good price, and the business is continually to do really well. So obviously you guys have got stock. How have you guys done with yours?
Yeah, I think just a point there, I think it's unusual, certainly within the UK and in this agency especially. I mean, I worked at Foxtons for 11 years and they floated, I think, in 2013, and I just certainly didn't get any stock options in that. And I don't think anyone above the kind of upper level senior management would have even got anything involved in that. And to get equity ownership of a global company listed on the Nasdaq, which is a $1 billion company from the outset, is incredible. And we're all part of that. So we're all shareholders of this incredible brokerage, which is worldwide. There's over 90,000 brokers across the world. It's very tech savvy. It's actually part of professors know much about it, but a technology company called Verbela as well is under eXp, which powers a similar type of thing to the metaverse type thing with technology. And that to me is it's something which is great to have. Every deal I do, it's 5% of my commissions go to buy stock, and like you say, getting those still granted freebies is amazing. I got $400 just for doing my job for doing my first deal. Yay, well done. Here's some money.
That's amazing. Every year as well. You get it every year when you do first.
Every year, and every year you cap. And James and I have now introduced quite a number of brokers, and every broker that once they do their first deal, they get stock, but then also I get a thank you, and that's to say, well done for bringing this person in and for them to be good at their job. That's and that there are obviously further incentives for people that are high volume producers that can hit what's called the icon status. They get given and gifted 12,000 dollars and shares and become sort of what they call
I
icon
see it.
agents.
I see it as my pension pot as well. I guess as a
Yeah.
limited company, we can pay into the pension, but there's 4 revenue streams. This amazing model: sales, lettings, the revenue share, but then the third one is shares. So I've now got, after 2 years, probably about £15,000 of shares. I see that as my pension pot that I'm building as well in the background.
Exactly that. That's what most people do. Is most people don't touch it, just let it sit there, and then when you come to your retirement, you're going to have a nice big pot there. So we just talked about revenue share and how that works. We'll go into more detail now. So the simple version of it is obviously when you normally work for a company and you say to someone, you should come and work for us or get involved in this. You might, I don't know, for our gym, for example, I think you get a free bag. If you get someone to join your gym. With eXp, it's completely different. So you actually get a percentage of their deals up until they point to their cap. So, for example, with Jonathan, I get 3.5%, I think it is, of his gross commission up until he caps. And that's up until 2,800. So every year that Jonathan is at eXp, because Jonathan does very well, I'm going to earn 2,800 from Jonathan. And as James joined under Jonathan will earn 2,800 for James. And what I'll do now is I'll show you the next slide to show you how you can get.
James, just to add
yeah.
in there before we go on to the next slide, is I think it's really important to appreciate that this is not a kind of parasitic setup, and I use that term quite a lot. Going back to that original example of a £10,000 deal, from that £10,000 deal, 7,000 goes to the broker. That's what you're entitled to. That's what you're always going to get, and every penny of that goes into your pocket. The £3,000 goes to eXp, and from that they pay Zoopla, Rightmove, Regus, CRM, all of that stuff. And then those 3.5% of that money, eXp's money, will go to James or to me from James. So it's eXp's money that's paying the broker to say thank you for bringing that producing agent into the business. If they don't produce, there's no revenue to pay. And that's the key point here, is that some people think it's some kind of parasitic pyramid scheme where people are trying to feed off each other. It's not. And that's, we don't have sort of management levels within eXp. There's no recruitment drive. It's led by agents themselves. And you can do this if you want, or you don't have to. We've got very much into this, and I see it as being at the forefront of change and the revolution and helping people to empower and take control of their lives. But eXp will reward me for my efforts that I put into that. We spend hours and hours and hours with potential brokers, and some of them, one chap's just signed up. I met him 2 years ago. I've taken him for lunch 3 times. That's been a slow process, but finally he's now on board, and he will thank me in a year's time when he's earning 3 times what he was earning at the high street, and he's spending more time with his children and doing all the things that we enjoy. And eXp will thank me for that. And that's what I just wanted to put out there. I think it's really important that people don't realise that we're not taking money out of each other's pockets.
Yeah, and the truth is, you only earn money if that agent does well. And why this business model works really well, it actually incentivizes everyone to help the agents that are joining below them. So the reason why I joined eXp under Jason Simard was because he set up a whole coaching company. So I originally was paying for coaching for him. And then what he realized was it was a much better model to not charge for his coaching. So what he decided to do was just say, look, anyone who joins eXp underneath me can have access to my full coaching platform. He has millions of sessions that are all recorded. He does them weekly. And you can go in there. If you're a brand new agent, you can learn how to sell. You can learn all the different ways of marketing yourself. If you're an experienced agent, you want to grow your business, he'll have specialist ones on team leads and all sorts. And so everyone who joins, Jonathan, James, everyone underneath you can have full access to his coaching platform. And then what you guys have done in the UK is just absolutely fantastic, because you guys are building something very similar where you've got this network of agents, you're helping each other sell. And not only are you, for example, I see all the time on our WhatsApp group chat, someone has a home for sale and immediately someone's like, I've actually got a buyer for that. So even before you've even put it on the market, you're working together to help each other improve their business. And it's that real collaborative environment that you get from this. It's not like you guys both sell properties in London. You've got what I think about 30 agents or so. You'll talk about more this in more detail. In
33 or
London,
34 now. Yeah.
you're working as collaboratively together to help each other grow your business. And because you're incentivized to do that, you're going to go out of your way to help them. So when you join eXp, you get so much more than just joining a normal company. You really are joining what I see really as a family, especially if you join under the right people. I think that's really important. Do you guys
I
want
was
to
just
chat
about to
more
say,
about that?
I mean, James, you can add it. I think that's really important because EXP is the brokerage, they're the facilitator, but from the outside in, until you actually get under the bonnet, and we're talking about all the different revenue streams here, but we're backed by EXP, but we've generated this collaborative, reciprocal brokerage in a way where James and and others within the whole group have made that conscious decision to be altruistic and give our time back. You don't need to. No one is telling you need to do that. Okay. You can join up and do completely independent if you wish, or you can get involved. But we put as a sort of an outset is that we will support you as much as you want.
Yeah.
If you just want to go off and don't want to hear from me again, that's absolutely fine. You do what you want. But if you want to learn how we've done it, if you want to follow a path and use that sort of prior knowledge that we've created, then we can show you that. There's free choice there.
When John and I were the first guys in our sort of group, we were learning what to do, what not to do, and we made a lot of mistakes. Now, with all of our agents, we make it very simple. One, we go through all of their onboarding. Right, let's get that done. Now it's your business foundations, your Google business page, your Instagram, your Facebook. We've got a WhatsApp group for 35 agents. We've also got little kind of downline individual groups as well. Last night, Jack Bower, a Wandsworth agent, he shared a listing on his Instagram. I reshared that on my Instagram. A lead has come from that asking for a valuation. So little tips like that, I share little tips all the time into the groups to make these agents the best they can be. I know it's been absolutely awesome for me, my wife as well, like literally life changing. And I get very passionate about helping these guys to change their lives as well. I think you kind of mentioned about I kind of feel like not a manager at all. I will share tips and I will share advice as much as they want it, but ultimately it's their business. But it's constant. Camillo, he's just joined us. He's left Foxton's Night Fright to join us. I've taken him on 2 valuations now as sales valuations. I'm going away this weekend. I'm going to give him one of my listings. So we do all that we can for agents to get going. Jeroen Hopper, he used to be an agent. He was a PT. We told him about this model. He's like, that model is insane. He's now probably 6 months in. He sent us a WhatsApp yesterday. He's got 11 listings about to launch. I think his WhatsApp was like, look, guys, thank you so much for getting me back into agency. And I get so passionate because it's literally changing. It's changed my life. And then people like that, I get quite passionate about it, really.
Yeah, I think just to add in there as well is that there are different people at different stages. I would say to people that are, sat in branch or even at other brokerages that are thinking about, coming on board with us, is that, we're here to mentor and to help that grow. But if you have thoughts and designs about doing this yourself, you have that same opportunity. So I started and brought in various different people, James being one of them. James has now taken on board himself and has built himself 20 people that are now part of his group, so to speak, and that's because he wants to do that. Some people don't; they just want to run a fantastic business and grow an agency. That's the beauty of it. You can do whichever path you want to follow. We can help you do that. And there are people that are doing it in all different. Daniel Archer, who hopefully we'll bring on to have a chat. I mean, he's a slightly older than most of us. He's now running I would say this year's going to do at least 300 grand, if not more. Doesn't have a social media presence whatsoever. But what he's done, and it is incredible. He keeps himself to himself, but he's a lovely chap. And then we've got other people that are really strong on social media. People that are really strong with graphic design. They've all different skill sets, and you're tapping into that. I'm terrible with graphic design stuff, and I posted stuff up on our website. Sorry, on our WhatsApp group. And Wilma, who's really good with it, within 10 minutes had just done what I needed her to do. And it was brilliant. And she just passed it on to me and it was finished. And that's what I think is great with the group of people that we have. I think it's such a breadth of knowledge, which you're getting into.
And the truth is, you can earn extortionate amounts of money by just helping people and giving people that opportunity to join eXp. There's people in America who are earning literally $1 million like a month from the people that they've got underneath them. It's extortionate. But to give you an example, Jonathan, I mentioned before, I would get 2,800 a year from you joining. Because James joined under Jonathan, I get 3,200. And for anyone listening to the podcast and not seeing the slide, if anyone joins under James, I would get 2,000. Anyone below that, 1,200. Below that, 800. Then 2,000. And the funny thing is, actually jumps to 4,000 on tier 7. Now, it does get slightly more complicated because you can't just get one person like Jonathan to join and then he is amazing at getting people to join. You need a certain amount of people on your tier 1 to open up other tiers, etc. But the idea is just by helping people with their business. And as Jonathan said, some people want help, some people don't. But if they join underneath you at eXp, you can earn very good money from just that part of the business model. Now, some people have no interest in that. Some people really enjoy it. We obviously really enjoy it. We really enjoy helping other people have the lifestyle which we obviously we all want, and it's really great being part of a collaborative environment. But I think we just wanted to bring this up because it's a really important part of eXp and makes it very different to other agencies because of the amount of money you can make just from having people join eXp. And the great thing about eXp in the UK is you can't just have anyone join. You've got to have 2 years experience. Yeah. And the other thing I just want to mention as well with that is we only earn the money if they do well. So we can't, James doesn't pay eXp, 2,000 a month and we earn from that. We only earn the money when James and Jonathan and whoever it is closes deals. So that's the big thing I want to go through.
Yeah, I mean, it's all based on production. I think you'll hear people talk about, it's like a pyramid scheme or it's a Ponzi scheme and things like that. And I think the way I sort of try to analogize that is, one, most companies have a structure like this where you have a CEO, maybe some shareholders here, and senior management, middle management, and then people at the bottom. That's a flow in one respect. But this, if we were to just go on there are people that would just go and say, look, you're just getting lots of people, and if you don't have any care about who it is that you bring in, then you're not doing it correctly. James, all of us, every single person that comes on board with us, we actually genuinely care about that individual and about their success, and it's about nurturing that and making sure that all the points that we've just gone through, and whether it's more time with family, whether it's more holidays, whether it's autonomy or money or just whatever time commodity, being able to spend time on your interests, sport, leisure, all of those things, we're here to try and help that to be realized. And that is very different to just kind of like recruit and forget type thing. I'm genuinely passionate about it, same as we all are. To see people, take Jack Barrow for example. He was with another brokerage a year and a half ago and was struggling heavily. He was doing the right things on social media, but just wasn't getting the results. Fast forward a year, he's been with us just over a year. He's now running a thriving business and is on his way to being a really successful broker. And that's because we spent hours and hours and hours with him, helping him to show him in the right direction and to support his growth. He lives, he's working half a mile away from where I am. A lot of people would see that as competition. I don't. I see it as collaborative opportunity. There's plenty to go around, and he's doing fantastically well, and I feel really great for that, and I'm sure you do, James, as well.
Yeah. One of my ex-colleagues follows me on Instagram. One of his friends is selling a flat in Wandsworth. Jack lives 2 buildings from that flat. Myself and Jack, we co-listed a flat in Fulham Riverside. I had the client. Jack lives very close. He did the leads. We're managing that one together. Jack sold 2 flats in his own building. So the perfect person to collaborate with was Jack. So because we've got so many agents in the network, we can sort of pick and choose who is best suited to kind of service any client, and then you benefit from it as well.
Just to add on that, okay, this is national and international. So James, you were in the States, weren't you, when I started? And I came under you as the sponsor, but you were in California. there are, if you know someone in France,
And
or
we spent a lot of time on Zooms,
yeah,
when
exactly.
I remember when you first started, and we were, chatting about how you were going to get business first of all. And I still remember that, there was times when you were like, when is this really going to get going? And then boom, it just blew up.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about I did that as a training session when I was talking to a lot of the eXp brokers across on the network, but the process of starting up and the sort of the highs and lows of it. But if it's not, we're talking about people bringing people in. It's not just who you know, but it's who the people you know and who they know. Because you could bring someone into the business who has a huge influence across the industry, who could know 10, 20, 30, 40 people and be an absolute influencer. You just don't know who that person's going to be, and that's what's really exciting about it. We are right at this forefront of this seismic shift in the industry within agency in the UK. I went to the States a couple of times last year, and I was sat at a table with a couple of the people you spoke about, James, that are doing millions of pounds a month in revenue share. But they were all saying that what you have in the UK right now is an amazing opportunity because it's just getting started. It's like what eXp was back in 2016 when it first launched in the US. Now, of course, in the US, there's a lot more numbers and there's a lot more people. But think about all of the agents in London, and I look at all of the talent that we have here, and I think, goodness me, if even half of those people were to try and come and do this, they could change their lives, no problem. And if you choose the right people to come on board with, then you'll accelerate that. So that's what I think is a closing comment.
So, guys, how do we get in contact with you? If you are interested in learning more about this, obviously the best way is, I'd probably say, LinkedIn and Instagram. So how do we get hold of you, Jonathan?
Yes, I think certainly for me, most active on LinkedIn. I'm Jonathan with Real Estate. You can also get me on Instagram, which is _London_agent.
And James?
Yeah, my Instagram is James Hughes Property, but if you just Google me, James Hughes, powered by eXp, that'll bring up my website, my Google business page, and my LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. And if you want to contact me on Instagram, it is JG_EXP, and I'm on LinkedIn, James George. Thanks for joining me today, guys. We've got lots more podcasts coming up. If you want us to cover any topics, or if you want to come on the podcast, then please do reach out and give us a follow. Give us any reviews, would be fantastic. And we look forward to seeing you every Monday.
See you then. Have a good one.
See ya.
Bye.